Our third awardee from District 7 is Tara Bell. She is from Booker T. Washington STEM Academy in Champaign, Illinois. She's an elementary science teacher. She exhibits excellence and motivation in the field of science education by serving as an elementary science educator, university elementary science methods course instructor, and leader in her state Science Teachers Association. Tara, please come on up.
Well, thank you for this honor. I'd just like to preface my talk by saying I am here in front of you today because of professional organizations and the mentoring that I received throughout my career. I was a member of the New Science Teacher Academy the first year that NSTA offered that. The mentoring I received from that was invaluable. And I actually became a leader in my state Science Teacher Association because my first conference that I came to, I ran into Sue Clay, who encouraged me to get involved locally. So I just want to thank everyone from the beginning for all of their help along the way. The title of my talk today is Elementary Science Every Day and After School Too. And I'm just going to kind of go through a few slides about sort of the culture that we've established at Booker T. Washington and try to connect it back to student interest in science and what we're trying to do to encourage our students to pursue interest in science. These are just some examples of what our school looks like. These are our classrooms, so it's a very collaborative-based learning environment. The space that I worked most exclusively in was called our STEM lab. And I really just wanted to call attention to this piece of writing that Dr. Yager did, where he talks a little bit about interest in students' science and how that tends to decline. And so as an elementary teacher, I really wanted to figure out how I could try to build that up at the K-5 level. In order to build that up, I realized I couldn't do everything by myself, and I knew that I wanted to reach out to the community and build some partnerships. I didn't really know how to do that, so this resource I remembered from the New Science Teacher Academy, and it really provided me with a framework from which I could approach stakeholders, community groups, and build partnerships. The partnership I'm going to highlight for this talk is an engineering partnership, chemical engineering. And it came out of an interaction and just a need from sort of our students to build out chemistry and focus a little bit on engineering. So I was able to connect with Joe Muskin at the University of Illinois. He's a former NSTA Distinguished Informal Educator, so great guy. And Dr. Gerard Henderson, who is a chemical engineer, faculty at the University of Illinois in Champaign. We had a whole bunch of different partners, so it was really great to see so many folks want to join us. And we designed essentially a 4-week module focusing on chemical engineering at the 5th grade level. It started off with component 1 where Dr. Henderson would come and talk to my students about what chemical engineers do, what they study, and most importantly, we really wanted kids to understand why should 5th graders care about chemical engineering. So we kind of set up this basic premise where we'd allow them to tell us what they wanted to do once we told them some of the things chemical engineers did, and they decided that they wanted to make shower gel. So we kind of looked for a safe formula that students could easily manipulate, and we made sort of a PTA give us an initial investment, and we were able to purchase some raw materials and construct this sort of basic safe formula for making shower gel. Here we see students, the process they did with a partnership, and they were able to work in groups of 2 or 3 collaboratively throughout the entire time. They worked on basically, it was a long cycle, but essentially they created test batches, and then with the test batch, they did some consumer sort of product research, they did market research, they took it home, tried it out, and then they would take it back to their group. They would think about what things they wanted to change and how they could change that by manipulating the ingredients. And it was all things that they decided for themselves. They then went to a scale-up process. So we talked about how you went from a sort of a product stage, a test stage, to a larger scale-up. They ended up bottling their own, and I didn't tell them they needed to use a funnel. It was great for them to see firsthand the importance of all the different stages of product design. Then the great thing about this partnership was that our entire school participated. So not only was it in our STEM lab, in the classrooms in English language arts, but it was also in art class. So the art teacher and I also collaborated. He talked a little bit about how color is used in advertising and thinking about how the students were going to, kind of market their shower gel line. And then they had to create a brand by consensus. So that was really the only rule. It had to be a brand name by consensus, and all fifth graders had to agree to this name. So they went through, a couple of days of just, trying to figure out what makes the most sense. BTW Special Smells, I thought was kind of an interesting name. But ultimately, they decided with BTW Scientific Solutions for their brand name for their shower gel. After that, and after each group had decided, what they wanted to make for their shower gel line, then they had to kind of go through this stage of calculating price point, designing labels, listing all the ingredients. We had a couple of folks that we were able to find at the university who would come and talk to us about how to do a marketing plan, what are the components of a business plan, and so we really tried to model the process as closely as we could. So some of the examples here, we have Tropical Tango, so they added kind of a tropical scent, orange cream, kid style. And then finally, the project concluded where we were able to, through a partnership with the local Chamber of Commerce, go to the holiday market at the local mall and provide the students with an opportunity to market their products, sell them, which was, they were very modestly priced, and then that allowed them to cover costs of the initial investment and then have enough to sustain the project for the next school year. Again, a great opportunity for them to interact with consumers to see, if they like their product or not. And really, all of this kind of left me with a few pieces of reflection. What I saw through this module, that students were generally interested in this partnership. Parents were interested, community key stakeholders. Somehow somebody called the news and they said, we'd really like to come and see kids making the shower gel. And I remember I didn't sleep the night before because I thought, please, just let us have 2 kids come out of all of them, because the morning news was at 7 a.m. and our school started at 9. So trying to get some kids to come to the lab 2 hours before school. And I was so shocked when they just kept coming, and literally every single student came 2 hours before school, and someone brought a first grader. So I don't know how that ended up, but so kids were very excited. Students also showed ownership in this product because it was something that they actually created from the inception to the actual marketing and the production. They also exhibited strong interest in learning more about chemical engineering, which was something that they were introduced to through this process. And many students, especially my boys, many of whom were at risk, really saw Dr. Henderson as a role model, which I thought was a really important piece. So my takeaway from that as a teacher was, what can I do now as a teacher to cultivate their interests, which is something that Dr. Yager talked a lot about. So I said, okay, perhaps I can expose them to different stages in the STEM pipeline so that they can see, okay, I'm a 5th grader now, but as I grow older and move through the different stages of the pipeline, I can see that, science is something that I can still pursue an interest in. So I was able to work with some partners at high school. So we went to see their high school lab. They came to see our lab, and we tried to develop some mentoring opportunities there. We had an opportunity to visit campus, go to the engineering college, one of the best engineering schools in the whole country. My students as 5th graders were able to sit there and engage in some activities with some faculty. And then we had a chance to see what chemical engineers, where they work, what labs look like. Dr. Henderson arranged a couple of tours for us. And through all of this, again, we really started to see the boys really identify with Dr. Henderson. So right around this time, there was some grants available at the University of Illinois for outreach. And Dr. Henderson had run a pilot with the Boys and Girls Club after school targeting at-risk students. And so we kind of wrote in for that grant, and we received initial funding for $10,000 to implement a pilot at Booker T. Washington, which took place last spring. And together with Dr. Henderson, and then we have Ricky Greer and Alante Whitmore, we kind of they coined really, the Brady STEM Academy, which is named after St. Elmo Brady, who is the first African-American man to obtain a PhD in chemistry, which in the US, which was actually received at the University of Illinois. And as we kind of thought about all of this, we just thought, wow, this is really a great opportunity. Dr. Brady was on faculty at Tuskegee, and actually Ricky went to Tuskegee, and then he was mentored by Booker T. Washington, and that was the name of the school, and so it worked out really well. They were able to recruit a lot of young engineering students from the university who were willing to give up their Saturday to mentor my fifth graders, and through the funding provided by the grant, we were really able to scale up some of that and build out some of the mentoring pieces. So I guess in closing, I'd just like to say thank you for all that you do for encouraging kids and teachers every day, and it's really an honor. Thank you very much.